Call the meeting to order. Join me for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, this is our regular city council meeting for October 28th, 2024. We'll start with a roll call, please.
Weber?
Yes.
Houston? Hannah?
Yes.
Moore is excused. Prusader?
Here.
O'Laughlin?
Yes.
Jensen?
Yes.
Next, we'll move to item 3, the approval of the agenda. I need a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0. Next, we move to public comment. Do we have public comment tonight? Dave, anything back there?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. We'll move to the consent agenda then. I need a motion to accept and approve the consent agenda that approves the following: the minutes of the October 14th, 2024 regular meeting, the Sanity Room Classic C retail alcohol license renewal that includes outdoor service effective November 16, 2024 through November 15, 2025. And the final item is the tobacco application permit for King Tobacco at 209 First Street East effective October 28, 2024 through June 30, 2025. Do I have that motion?
So moved. Second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0. Next, we move to the financials. First, I need a motion to approve the claims for payment.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I
Sorry.
have a motion and a second. Any discussion with regard to that? Questions, Mike?
Nope.
None? Okay, then that would be a consent agenda item also, so all in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Passes 6-0. Next, we move to revenues and expenses. Item 7, that's information only. Anybody have any questions with regard to that? Hearing none, we move to item number 8, which is transfers. Again, this is for information only. Anybody have any questions or comments with regard to that? Okay, let's move to item number 9, which is the first reading of the ordinance to amend Code Section 6908, no parking zones. First, I need a motion to approve a first reading of this ordinance amending the provisions pertaining to Code Section 6908, no parking zones.
So moved. Second.
Okay, the issue that we're talking about here tonight deals with the area near where the old food bank was. And at the time that the food bank was there, we had a need to have the street on the opposite side, so that would be the south side of the street. So a sign was erected at that time which said no parking 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. With the food bank not being there any longer, this gives us some extra parking spaces in the downtown. But we had put the specific location of this in the ordinance, so in order to remove the sign, we have to have an ordinance, so that's the purpose of this.
Correct. Yeah, all of there are no parking areas in town are listed out in the code in that ordinance.
So is there any further discussion with regard to this?
And this is strictly specific to between, what is it, Crane Avenue and Second Avenue?
Right, along the side of the
Yeah.
building where the parking lot goes to the back of where Allerton is.
Yeah.
Okay. So if there's no further discussion on that, that would be a roll call vote.
Houston?
Yes.
Hannah?
Yes.
Prusader?
Yes.
O'Laughlin?
Yes.
Jensen?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Passes 6-0. Next, I'll entertain a motion to suspend the statutory rule of the ordinance to be considered and voted on and for passage at 2 council meetings prior to the meeting in which it's finally passed. We would need 6 out of 7 since we're missing a council member. It has to be unanimous. Does anybody want to make that motion so we can have this finalized tonight?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I assume there's no further discussion with regard to that, so then this would again be a roll call vote.
Hannah?
Yes.
Prusader?
Yes.
O'Laughlin?
Yes.
Jensen?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Houston?
Yes.
That passes 6-0. Now that that's passed, I need a motion to have this ordinance, which amends the provisions of Code Section 6908, no parking zones, placed for final passage for adoption pursuant to Iowa Code Section 380.3, and to authorize the mayor to sign the ordinance. Do I have that motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, this would again be a roll call vote.
Prusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah.
Yes.
Passes 6-0. Next, we move to item number 10. This is a resolution to establish the use of the American Recovery Plan Act funds, or ARPA, and to authorize the mayor to sign a resolution to include improvements at Flag Park for allocations to the allocation list for use in the American Recovery Plan Act funds. First, I need a motion,
So moved.
Second.
and I need a second. Got it. Okay, so
I would like to add that I'm in favor of this, but I would like to limit it to 10,000, maximum of $10,000.
So all this resolution does is just say we're going to use funds there. It doesn't require a dollar amount. But I
That-
can safely say we don't have that
Yeah.
much remaining.
They said we don't have even 10,000, I think we have 9,000 and some change is what we have remaining, so
Okay.
it will be less than 10,000.
council will recall that when we made our initial list, we had 9 items on the list. We had the police department facility purchase, we had some change orders, we had the all-inclusive park, we had the complex turf project, we had a stormwater study, we had the Southwest Park, Triangle Park, which is where the
The dock is.
the dock is now, but we also had Bremer Park. So we've basically took Bremer Park off previously because we used the funds that we were thinking about using for Bremer Park, and then we moved those funds, I believe we moved them to the all-inclusive park at that time.
Yep.
So is there any further discussion with regard to just putting this location on as a list for the ARPA? And one more thing, we have to use this money by December 31st. Well, we have to allocate this money by December 31st of this year. We don't have to spend it until
December 31st, 2026 is the cutoff.
2026 is the cutoff. But we'd have to allocate it by the end of this fiscal year, by the end of this calendar year. So any further discussion? Hearing none, we would move to a roll call vote then.
I'd like to,
Oh,
with regard to the Flag Park, I would like to explore renaming it Mayor's Park.
and I don't disagree with you at all, Mike, and what we've done is we've put that on the agenda for our work session for the following,
For November 4th.
for November,
Sounds good?
Yes.
and we'll talk about it then. And I'll also give you a little bit of an update when I get to the mayor's report at the end of the meeting tonight as well, about what's been going on and where we are on it.
Sounds good.
Okay, so then this is a roll call vote.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Prusader.
Yes.
Passes 6-0. Next, we move to item number 11.
There's a chair up here.
I need a motion to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a resolution accepting and approving the final plat for the MBH addition within 2 miles of the city limits of the city of Independence, Buchanan County, Iowa. First, I need a motion.
So moved.
Second?
I have a second. We've talked about this previously, and what we're talking about here is there's one lot it's been subdivided into 3 lots. And so this is the final plat for that, approval of that. It's not within the city itself, but because it's close enough to the city, the council has to approve it. So that's why we're having this on now. Okay?
This is on the northeast corner of Golf Course Boulevard and 218th Street.
So further discussion? Hearing none, this is a roll call vote then.
Jensen,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Prusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Passes 6-0. Next, we move to item number 12, right? Item number 12, I need a motion to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a resolution approving a moratorium on the enforcement of certain signed regulations.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, what we're talking about here is it came to our attention that there were certain signs in front of businesses on First Street which might not be in compliance with the code sections as they exist. Because we want to revise all of the ordinances at one time, we're seeking a moratorium here so that the businesses that have the signs are permitted to use the signs until such time as we have an opportunity to complete our work through planning and zoning and back to the council in order to amend this. So we don't want to be in a situation where our business owners, in one of their most busiest times of the year, don't have the ability to have their extra signs out front. So that's the purpose of this.
So if you'll recall, right after I started, there was the billboard issue on the west side of town, and we did a moratorium on issuing billboard permits, kind of the same principle here, only in this case, we're doing a moratorium on the enforcement of something rather than the issuance of a permit.
And this is for 120 days, correct?
Or till we get it completed, whichever occurs first.
Yeah.
Okay. So further discussion with regard to this?
I think this is great. I think, on the south side of Main Street, the limitations of ownership are different than the north side, so I think we need to
Should be the same.
level the playing field and say, we support the downtown, let's make sure that they can put signs out where they need them and stuff.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, this would then be a roll call vote.
Weber,
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Crusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Jensen.
Yes.
Passes 6-0. Next, we move to item number 13 under other business. I need a motion to authorize the city manager to sign the attached acceptance of service waiver of hearing and consent to petition. Do I have I'll explain it to you, but first I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, when Mary Lou Cook did her will, she was gifting money to the library. And instead of having it listed in the will as the library foundation, she only listed it as the library. The money was intended to be for the foundation, not for the library itself. So the law firm, Robertson Eddy, has filed a petition in order to make the change so that the money is allocated where the decedent wanted it to go. It's not a substantial amount of money. It's approximately $5,000 that we're talking about, but it's important that it be done properly, and in order to do that, we need the city manager to sign those documents.
Question.
Yes.
How would that change if it was donated to the Independence Public Library as opposed to the Library Foundation? What does that change?
So what it changes is if it's worded to the Independence Public Library, it comes to the city rather than going to the foundation to be used there. So it's just it's an allocation of funding situation, basically. Does that help clarify?
Okay, any further discussion with regard to this? Hearing none, then this would be a roll call vote again.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Crusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Passes 6-0. Next, move to item number 14. Item number 14 is a motion to approve a commercial restoration rehab grant application with B&D Services in the amount of $3,994.34. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion with regard to this? I believe that, well, you know where it is. It's the building between the current B&D Services and Napa on First Street. The total project is $11,995. And so the 33 1/3% would be the $3,994.34 number. Is there discussion with regard to this at all? Okay. Hearing none, this will be a roll call vote.
Hannah,
Yes.
Crusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Houston.
Yes.
Passes 6-0. Next, we move to item number 15, which is the water and sewer system updates, as opposed to the wastewater treatment plant. This is not the same thing. So, Travis?
No, we have a few projects going on that are getting to be pretty large, so I just thought it'd be a good idea to come give you guys an update and explain what we have going on.
Appreciate that.
The sewer, first of all, we found an old sewer that runs underneath the north side of Main Street, the old buildings. It's actually running underneath a lot of these buildings. And some of the conditions of it's raised some concerns, and what all's attached to it and what we're gonna do in the future. And it's ended up being combined sewer, so we have storm water going into a sewer that's not supposed to be. And the route of this, there's no access points to it, hence why you've seen some holes dug around town. We had to actually dig down, cut into the pipe to get it. And right now, we're working on looking at all the connections that are to it. We've worked on getting all the storm connections disconnected. And we're currently trying to find an idea on where to either reroute this or disconnect all the lines to it and get them into a newer, up-to-date sanitary system. We're getting fairly close. There's a couple elevation issues on a certain spot, a couple spots that we have to look into.
Well, and we had talked about, Travis and I had talked about the far west end potentially starting at the river there and being able to slip line an existing pipe.
That's, yeah.
We had that looked at today, though, and it's within 40 feet of the river, it's collapsed. So we would have to start there digging Main Street to get all the way up, and that, we don't want to dig up Main Street, obviously.
No, but is it under Main Street there, or is it under those buildings?
It's under all those buildings, and then it gets out towards the B&D Services building, it comes out, and that's as far as we've been able to go. We're hoping to get farther tomorrow,
Yeah.
going that direction. I was hoping today that we'd be able to get in that line by the river, head east, and
Well, we were
find
really-
out that we had a good enough conditioned pipe
Yeah.
that we could just slip line it.
Yeah,
Because
we're really hoping
ultimately,
we
the
could just get
line,
up there that way, and then we wouldn't have to figure out a different way to.
yeah, it'd be
out of
just a
there.
different
Travis,
connection.
when we get to Second Avenue, does it come into the street at that point, or is it underneath Getty?
Second Avenue is where it turns into the street, yes.
Yeah,
In the 200
approximately.
block, and then we have it going all the way up to about the 600 block as well that we're investigating. Ultimately, when we find all the connections, either redo that line, which isn't looking like an option after today's digging. We'll have to figure out where to reconnect these other lines, and then this line will end up probably even having to do flowable fill in it, concrete. So since it's under all the buildings, we don't want to have a settling issue or
Right.
have any other connections put to it, which could cause issues in people's basements.
Is this water and sewer, or just sewer, or what?
It's combined, so
It's a
it's-
combined, old
oh.
combined one. It would have had to been put in.
I mean,
Before the buildings, I mean.
it runs through the middle of the buildings, under all the buildings. So I mean, you think about putting that line in the ground, it had to have been put in a long time ago. I mean, buildings have been built over it all the way along Main Street.
Oh, yeah.
So it's definitely something that we need to take care of and address and get it fixed.
But I thought in front of Pete's, well, what is now the Gedney, and the next building to the west, I thought that the sewer, that there was a dig there at one time, and the sewer had to be fixed. I mean, it had collapsed there too. And was.
It could have been, I'm not aware of
But there
that.
was-
And I haven't, the line that we're investigating now, I have not found a connection that goes into those buildings.
But that would have been almost 50 years ago, so.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe that was connected from it.
But we've had, I mean, the one thing that I would want to point out with this is we've been using, Travis and the guys have been using the new camera that the council authorized.
Oh, yeah,
And that's
they-
saved us a ton of money in terms of having somebody, I mean, we haven't had to pay somebody else to come in to televise all this stuff and find everything.
Yeah, that's
So,
become.
been very helpful that we
very
have
helpful
that.
so far. Gotten a lot of use out of that, so. Right now, I don't have an exact plan for you, other than we're in the process of doing that. And like I said, that when we're done, that line will either be redone, connected to a up-to-date sanitary system, or completely filled in with flowable fill, so we don't have any issues in the future,
Sure.
so.
Is that the open line right there under First Street Bridge?
Yeah.
That's the one that you're talking about?
Yeah.
That's our connection. We had to dig down going through there, and we've made a couple other connections. So we're heading more to the north and east right now, and we're getting fairly close, I think, but still have a few investigative things to do to determine what we're gonna do to.
The one thing that we're a little concerned about right now is we just overlaid that parking lot behind Napa, and it feels like that may be the location, the route we have to go to get to Second Street to a sewer service up there, but we've got some elevations that we need to verify and things. It's unfortunate, but, I mean, we've got to fix it.
Yeah, it's got to be fixed,
Yeah.
so.
No, just felt it was a big enough project and stuff going on. We wanted to give you an update on that.
I appreciate
Appreciate
that.
that.
Yep, and then on the water side, sure you're aware, if you go up 8th Avenue Northeast, we've had multiple main breaks over the years on that. And
We've even had multiple in the
unfortunately, we've
last
had
couple.
about 3 in the last 2 months within an area. So Matt and I have discussed and figured it's time to get something started. And as long as we have that big of a area open, I've been working with Crawford Engineering there, and they are drawing up a plan for about a 300-foot section right now between 7th Street and 8th Street Northeast. So my goal is here yet this fall is to dig the east side of that road. The water main lays on the east side of the road, so we should only have to take about an 8-foot chunk of road all along there. Do about 300 feet of main right there where those 3 breaks have been, and that'll be set up for the north side. There'll be about 2.5 blocks to the railroad tracks that I'd like to do, and then about 2.5 blocks south to 5th Street right now. I'd like to have projects over the next year or two to get that line completely redone.
We've had multiple issues with that water line through there, and it's time to fix it. and do
Is
something.
Fifth where it curves like that?
Yes, right at the curb there.
Yeah.
That's my plans, my near future plans right
Yep.
there. Should we have to go south, maybe, but I figured to the railroad tracks to 5th Avenue is my goal right now.
We've had as many issues as we have with breaking lines right there and stuff. It makes sense to just do a small 300-foot one to get us started.
Exactly.
And then that also helps kind of split that one big, long run into 2 projects that we could do in future years.
Yeah.
So,
So that'll just kind of be a pricing deal next year to see if we're going to do the full 5 blocks or just do 2.5 blocks at a time. But this
Sure.
little project here will set us up for getting that taken care of. So,
this is kind of the start of also part of the reason that when we did the rate increases that we recently did, the 3% on the water side is to help pay for things like this. And we know we have issues like this throughout the city that need to be addressed. So we're starting to use that to work through that.
so you'll see that. It should be submitted to the DNR for the permit review fairly soon this week, and then I'll have that under construction here probably in the next week or 2. So
Sounds good.
we'll have that all poured and done before snowflies, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Good.
Then the only other thing, I was just going to let you know while I'm here that the wastewater, the design of the new plant, everything's going very well there, and we plan to have Stratton Associates at the December workshop to give you guys an update on how everything's going there.
When will bids be let on that?
Hopefully we know more. It's looking like the first quarter, possibly second quarter of next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably be next spring would be.
So we don't have
I guess.
approval from the DNR yet on our plan.
Not yet.
Not yet.
So hopefully they'll be able to give you more timelines and updates and where we're at in December.
Okay.
Good. Thank you, Travis.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll move to our educational portion of this. So which of you students would like to be number 1? Somebody has to be. I think the two that
I
came
think
in
the girls
first, I think
were
one
the
of them
girls
has to
here,
go
yeah.
first. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it has to be.
I'm Daisy Nye. I live on 609 2nd Street, Northeast Independence. I had a question about the sewers. Is there like an assumption that it'll have a negative effect on the community as a whole? Will it affect like traffic-wise or houses?
Okay.
So walk me through a little bit more about what you mean by the sewer. What are you
So,
referring to?
Do you think that with it getting fixed up and like it's explored, if you want to put it that way?
Well, are you talking about like what we were talking downtown?
Yes, like, yeah.
So the reason that we're doing that is because a combined sewer district or a combined sewer system is not allowed anymore. Back 30, 40, 50 years ago, that was something that could be done, but the EP doesn't allow that anymore. Not to mention the DNR. We have to resolve it. We have to fix it. Plus the impact that it's had on one of our business owners over the last little bit. So we want to get it fixed and get it taken care of. As far as impact to the community, honestly, the community, if we do our jobs right, the community shouldn't really see us
Okay.
when we're doing
Perfect.
that. You'll see the work being done downtown as far as the main, or the holes being dug and those things. But as long as the sewer system's functioning the way it's supposed to, nobody should really know that we're there.
Perfect.
So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think it's your turn.
I can go to the next one.
I can go to the next person then.
I'm Clay Wilgenbush. I live on 2531 Buchanan Delaware Avenue in Masonville. What is your plans for the old movie theater over by Heartland?
That's a pretty good question. We're still hoping that we're going to be able to use it for a daycare, but we haven't been able to get any federal grant money, which is necessary in order to build it. So we're in the process of looking at other options. When the building was gifted to the city, so we didn't pay for it at all. It's a $750,000 building. So but part of the agreement when we did that was that we couldn't sell or transfer or do anything else with it for a period of time, and that period of time has not run yet. So if we're unable to find somebody that, a daycare, whether it's here in town or whether it's someone from another location or whatever, then our plan B is that we'll look to either rent that space out to somebody, we'll look at selling the building. If it doesn't go to daycare, there's lots of people that have talked about other recreational type of things that could potentially go in there, but someone would have to buy the building in order to do that. It wouldn't be a city project, I don't believe. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Sure.
And I think when you said build, I think you meant renovate and add on to.
Correct.
Just to clarify that.
Hi, my name is Jack Williams, and I live on 435 4th Street in Winthrop. And I had a question, I think it was section 9,
Okay.
about the parking ordinances. Were there any other parking zones you guys are looking to like change or fix?
Not at the present time. That's the one that came to our attention because, in essence, in part, the reason that came to our attention was because we're trying to do something for our downtown businesses, and the signage issue for them was important, and another issue is the parking down there, and there'll be further discussions about parking downtown. So there could be some changes with regard to the downtown parking that'll be discussed at future meetings because we're looking at potentially having some type of a 2-hour maximum on Main Street or other areas downtown so that we can get more people, more customers in there as opposed to people that are tenants in the buildings upstairs or the employees of the businesses themselves. But that's still to be discussed. It's not the only one that's currently in the ordinance that we needed to remove is the one that we did tonight.
Okay.
So in essence, what we did is we took out a loading zone. That's why that was blocked, for a loading zone and made it parking.
All right, thank you.
We
Thank
moved
you.
our food pantry, so it wasn't necessary to have that.
Who would like to be next?
My name's Cameron Graham. Can you hear me?
I could not.
My name's Cameron Graham. I live in 464 3rd Street, North Winthrop, Iowa. My question is, are any downtown businesses eligible for any grants?
Any grants? Well, we just did one tonight that's a commercial.
The Commercial Restoration Rehab Grant Application Programs, and that's a program that the city runs. It's funded through TIF dollars. And we just approved one this evening on the agenda. Item 14 was for Julie's building there. She bought the building in between Napa and her establishment for her to improve the front doors and stuff on that. That grant applies to exterior, basically, mostly of a building. Another one that was just done is right across the street, Kings Hall, that was just painted over here. The council helped provide funding to be able for that to be able to happen. You can see, I mean, it's a major difference between what was there before. But yes, the city's continuing to invest in downtown as much as we can.
And we do have two other grants that are in the process right now. One is the Kohl's Hardware.
Ace Hardware.
Kohl's Ace Hardware building. They've got apartments that are going in upstairs, and they expect those to be finished by the end of December if it stays currently on a plan. I think there's going to be 10 units upstairs. The Gedney also has a Catalyst grant. Catalyst grant, and they're doing some remodeling upstairs as well. They might just have a couple of additional units up there and that they're working on, and then there's some other work that they're doing as well.
We also just did a commercial rehab grant for the Gedney, I think, on the last council agenda.
We did, and that was for the build. Pardon me?
Well, it's yes and no. I mean, they own the building, but it's not Gedney, it's the building next to it.
Next
That's the one next door, same owner.
So as you go more toward Allerton or to the
River.
river, there's a building next to where the Gedney sits on the corner of the building next to it. They're doing an exterior facade that also includes something in terms of the windows in the back of the building as well.
I think it's important to note that it's not just downtown businesses either. We also did one here a couple of months ago for Bobin Tire and Automotive that's out on 150 North. help them do all their windows and things like that, exterior on 3 sides, I believe, of their building.
It's a great point, yeah.
So it's not just downtown.
And we did a major grant that, for the downtown businesses that were 12, 13 businesses that were
13.
involved. 13 that were involved that we completed, where we did refacing of the brick on the buildings, the replacement of the windows. That would be all the way up and down First Street. And there's a discussion about whether we're going to be able to add more to that in the future. And I believe the timetable for that is we're looking at early next year. We're going to see who's interested in it and who qualifies, and we may be looking at some further restoration in those areas as well.
Yep.
Does that help?
Yep, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Make sure you drive through the downtown and check out all the neat buildings.
My name's Hunter Frank. I live at 2626 Quasqueton Diagonal Boulevard, Quasqueton, Iowa. And my question was, like you guys stated earlier about the advertisement on Main Street, so will the businesses south and north of Main Street all have the same, like, rules to follow, or?
The idea is that they will all have similar rules to follow, not only on Main Street or First Street itself, but also on the downtown other areas of the as well.
Okay.
I think the idea is that there is a difference between north and south in terms of the property lines, which we're trying to deal with as well. But it's just real important to us that our downtown businesses have the opportunity to let people know that they're there. And we've got a couple of downtown events, and we want as many people as possible to be able to get into those stores and to know where they are and et cetera. So we're hoping to promote our downtown businesses as much as we possibly can.
Okay.
Along with being able to not be in compliance with the American Disability Act for traffic, pedestrian traffic going up and down there.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next up.
My name is Ella Starr. I live on 2579 200th Street in Winthrop. And my question was, what caused the need for the sewer system to be explored?
Well, I guess we were having some issues with some leakage.
Waste in basements, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You want to answer that?
Julie could probably answer it better than any of us. So really what we had is we have a business owner that's had some issues with things coming up in her basement, and we couldn't figure out where they were coming from. And then once we got the camera in our inventory that we were able to use them, that's when we started really going after it and investigating, trying to figure out what's going on. So, but it's driven by the business owner.
Yeah.
Infrastructure's old in town,
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah, we've got a lot of.
Not just our town, lots of towns, but
Most of those buildings there were built before 1900 in the downtown area, so that's a pretty old sewer system.
Right.
But we're using a really nice new camera to check it all out.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Does that cover everybody? Okay, then let's move to reports. Brett, we'll start with you. Do you have anything?
I have nothing, Mayor.
Okay.
I had one question about the bills, and if you can answer it. It was $43,378 to Parks and Rec for painting. What did we paint that was that expensive?
Pool.
Pool, thank you.
Pool.
I didn't think about that, too.
Tom, did you have anything?
No, I did not.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Brian?
I'm good, Mayor. Thank you.
Mike?
Vote early.
And often?
That's right.
Missed it.
I'm going to do it.
Catherine?
I have nothing at this time. Thank you, though.
Want me to go next?
Go ahead.
Okay, last week was a pretty busy week, so I want to go over some of the things that happened and that we've done. The Rotary luncheon on Tuesday, Brett Suckup, our airport manager, is that his correct title now? He gave a presentation about the airport and about what changes we've made and our plans for it and the different federal grants and that we've been able to utilize. On Wednesday, we had our AMR update, so we met with the AMR people. That's myself. From the county, it would be John Kurtz, and from the hospital, it's Wade Weiss, and Matt was also present. they actually took it seriously in that they brought in their AMR regional director from St. Louis, so he came all the way in to present. And the only, there's not a tremendous amount of change or in terms of things that happened other than our total amount of service calls, remains about the same for the last quarter. There's still approximately 90 911 calls that we get. The problem that we have in terms of the data is that...
We should clarify, that's medical calls.
Medical calls, sorry, not just fire. Not fire.
Ambulance.
Ambulance. The problem that we have is they don't differentiate between independence within the city limits itself and independence, anybody that has an independence address. So that may be important to us in the future. So we've asked them to try to revise their forms as much as possible to only give us the independent city, well, to give us all the numbers, but to designate the difference between Independence City and Independence Rural. And when they call it Independence Rural, they're talking about anything that's in the county other than Fairbank or Jessup. So the other things of interest at the meeting, which is not a tremendous surprise to us, is because we continue to have the problems with them not having a second ambulance available for us. In July, we had nine different calls where we had to use somebody else, and all except one of those was where they had a transfer going on, and the first ambulance was being used, and therefore all of those with the exception of one, which was the Regional Medical Center out of Manchester, which went to Winthrop with one. August, there were 4. For some reason, that was split up a little bit. There was only one to Jessup, 2 regional, and 1 Center Point, which went to Quasqueton. And then in September, there were 3. All of them, again, were Jessup, and 2 of them were transfers, and the third one was one where they were on a call and then they finished the call. The other problem that we have is in terms of calculating numbers. When the 911 call comes in and Jessup is called to respond because the AMR out of Independence wasn't available, Jessup counts that as a call as soon as they start to move. So they may get all the way out here and they get to the scene and AMR is then available. So Jessup gets nothing for that. It's really unfair to Jessup. That's a situation where they're putting the miles and they're putting the wear and tear on their ambulance, and they can't bill for it. They can't do anything with it at all. So we're trying to figure out a way to, in some way, compensate Jessup for that when they come out to do that. It would something that would have to be done by AMR. The other thing of interest was. In July, they had 5 calls where they used the second ambulance. In August, there was 1, and in September, there was 2. So you can see how much more they're using Jessup and other places for that. For the first time since our contract with AMR started 3 years ago, right?
2021, yeah.
Yeah, 2021, because it was a 5-year contract.
The contract requires them to annually provide us with their financials so we can determine how they're doing. The whole concept here, before AMR came into being with us, we had area and we had other people, and there was no charge to us at all. I mean, it was all, they just did it based upon the calls that they made and the bills that they sent out for the people that are being transported. When we entered into the contract with AMR, the reason we entered into the contract was because both area and AMR wanted to be subsidized. They wanted a payment from the city or the county or the hospital or somebody in order to do it because they said they weren't making enough money. So we got financials in a way for the very first time at the meeting on last week. The problem is that they're indicating they had a 13% profit. 13% profit is not very much. So I'm not really concerned about the profit. The problem of it is, the revenues. If they're saying that the revenues are only 1.1 million, and 450,000 of that is our subsidiary stipend, they're not making very much money on the transports, and we have a feeling that number's got to be off. Also, their expenses and stuff seem to be they're just general, that they try to give us next. They told us it was just general. They weren't opening up their books to us. And I'm just happy that we actually got some type of financials for the first time. But it's still something we're talking about. And of course, we've got the AMS levy vote, which is coming up, which is so important to us. This is the state legislature gave us the ability to have the county, if this gets 60% of the vote, then the county, Buchanan County, for the first time, will be able to take property tax 75 cents per thousand of the
Taxable valuation.
Taxable valuation. And the benefit of that is tremendous, because the amount of money that they would be bringing in would allow us to not only have our own public ambulance service being funded by the money from the county, but it also would allow us to help with, Jessup would be able to get some additional monies to update their systems, their issues. Same thing for Fairbank. And then in addition to that, we have local EMS in a lot of different cities throughout the county, and this allows us to assist them as well. And it would not require the city to be involved in any contract. The only involvement the city would have would be, we would have a seat on the board of the advisory board for the EMS Association, and our person on the board would make recommendations in terms of what the city itself, and I'm talking about the city within the boundaries of the city limits, would be able to do. So this is a really important thing that this levy passes. If it doesn't pass, I'm not sure what's going to happen, because the county cannot afford the ambulance service, and I'm not sure that it's a responsibility of the city to somehow come up with money. So anyway, that's not a good thing. The other thing that we talked about, we had a nice meeting with Audrey Hill. Audrey Hill's family, as most of you know, Bob passed away, it'll be 3 years now, I think. And at the time that he passed away, the family wanted to do something for him to memorialize him downtown for his service as a mayor and his service as a city council member, and just being a good resident of the city itself. So since before I was elected to take his place, this was something there was conversation going on between the city and Audrey about a way to be able to set up this memorial for Bob. And originally we talked about Bremer Park, and we had ideas about Bremer Park, and that the ideas in Bremer Park not only included a pavilion, but it also included a lot of other things as well to honor other mayors besides just Bob. It turned out that Bremer Park was not the best location for us. Not only did we have, the city not have funding for what shares we would have to be contributing to that, but in addition to that, we had problems with the retaining wall there, and then we also are in the floodplain there, and we really want to spend a lot of money on something that could potentially be damaged in the years. So we looked at the area that's currently Flag Park, which is the one on the bank corner by where
Southeast corner of 150.
Okay, the southeast corner. And we've been talking about that for a period of time now, and Audrey's gone out and she's done a lot of legwork herself trying to figure out what this would look like. And originally she had, 25 feet by 25 feet or something like that. It was determined that was too costly. So she's come back with a 20 by 20 foot gazebo, which would be round. Mark Crawford was instrumental in helping her in order to determining. We weren't sure exactly the depth of the debris underneath there from when the building was destroyed or was demolished there. And Crawford Engineering was able to test the area and determine that it was sufficient for us to put footings there for the concrete for the gazebo. We also have had other donations from other businesses that are helping them as well. So the family itself has $50,000 to contribute to this, and that's not very much for the type of project that we're talking about, but it's pretty complex. So tonight, one of the things that we did was we added this to our list of the ARPA for some funds, because the idea is the city's going to contribute by providing the concrete itself for the foundation itself for the gazebo, and also the sidewalks to and from. And we estimate that cost to be something less than $9,000, and that's why the ARPA money is going to help us with that. In terms of the plans, Spahn and Rose has been working on the plans, and there's talk that they might be contributing something as well toward the project as we're hoping to have plans in the next couple of months. The idea is once we have the plans, we'll figure out where the footprint's going to go, figure out where we have to drill our posts or place our posts, and then we'll be able to know from there where we're going to be able to go. We're hoping to do this work in the spring, and she's got a contractor that she's working with. The city's involvement in this would be just that it's our land, and we would be contributing the concrete work itself. It's only a 20 by 20 area that would be the memorial itself. The rest of the park would still be Flag Park, but there's a conversation that's going to go on coming up about changing the name of that to Mayor's Park, and the possibility that in the future, when we have some kind of donations or money, we'll do something to honor the other mayors besides Bob in that particular area. So I know, since I'm talking a little bit, does anybody have any questions about what I'm talking about? Or Okay. Moving on to the next thing then, on Friday, we did the first casting instead of cutting the ribbon for the Freedom Pier out at Triangle Park. The city did contribute there in terms of the concrete, so that we did the walkways to get to the ADA compliant to get to the dock itself. And then Friday night was the library hosted Boo Fest, which my wife and I were the greeters, and I don't know what the total number was, Laura, but I know it was over 300.
Yeah, I think the counter was 325. We were wondering if it might be a little bit more than that.
There's a ton of people that were coming in the door, and I'm sure that we didn't click them all. But it was a really good turnout, so that's what I have.
I sent an email out to the council, I think, last week, letting them know about the PDI legislative priorities meeting that's going to be at the library on Wednesday from 10 to 11:30. If you're interested in going to that or planning to go to that, let us know so we can make sure that we notice it if we need to. I don't think we will, but if we need to, we can.
What is that again, Matt?
Sorry?
What was that again?
It's the PDI legislative priorities meeting or forum, so it's the developers where they're talking about what their legislative priorities are going to be with the legislature for the next term. Let's see, what else?
And several of the current legislators will be there.
Yeah.
Good. Hopefully some of the new current legislators will be there.
It'd be too early for that, right?
We're working through, the school has reached out about their SRO. They're interested in moving forward with that. So I'm working through getting an agreement in place or getting that put together before we bring it to council between Cynthia and I. We're pretty close, I think, on that. So once we get that put together, then we'll have that on an agenda for you guys. I think it'll be the December.
Just to review, that was a 50/50?
70/30 is where I have it at right now.
30?
Uh-huh.
That's good.
Yeah. It's an up to 70. So the way that it's worded in the document right now is an up to 70% is what the school would put in of that person's salary. But with our payroll system that we have, Susie and I have talked a little bit about that, and we feel like we could set it up almost as a separate department, and we'll just bill the school whatever hours that person works. They'll actually pay actual amounts then rather than an estimate. So
that would be best.
Yeah, we think that makes the most sense.
Yep.
So, speaking of the school's also going through their facility planning thing right now. Shive Hattery's working on that for them. I met with them last week about that and talked to them about future possibilities and so on and so forth. So continue to keep that conversation open. I know Matt's been continuing to work on DNR floodplain stuff. I think he sent some letters out related to that. So if you hear anything in the community about that, that's why that's out there. Haven't heard anything. Mayor asked about the fire truck earlier. I haven't heard anything back from I don't think, is our fire guy still here?
Dick?
We haven't heard anything from the company that it was delivered to for repairs. I know we haven't heard anything from the lease company.
We haven't heard anything that I've been aware of.
Yeah, so, and I'm sure.
The temporary truck or.
Right, yeah. And I'm sure if Blake hears anything, he'll let me know. He's out right now for a little bit, but he should be, he's kind of keeping on top of things as he's out, so. I think that's everything I've got.
Yeah, I think that'll cover it then. I need a motion then to to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
It's consent, right?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passes 6-0. We're now adjourned.